Prep1. Today we are going to take Around the World in 80 Days, Chapter 14. Full Speed. At 11 o'clock in the morning, the train had climbed to one of the highest points on its journey through the Rocky Mountains. 200 miles further on they would reach those wide stretches of flat country that lie between the mountains and the Atlantic coast. So in a few hours they would have passed the difficult and dangerous part of their journey through the mountains. After a good meal, the travelers began playing cards again, but before long the train moved more and more slowly and then came to be a complete stop. Passepartout put his head out of the window and could see nothing that might explain the delay. There was no station in the area. For a moment, Uda and Fex were afraid that Mr. Fogg would want to get off the train, but he only turned to Passepartout and said, "Go and see what's the matter." Passepartout jumped out. 30 or 40 travelers had got off, and among them was Stamp W. Proctor. The train had stopped in front of a red signal. The engine the engine driver and the guard were talking very seriously to a man who had been sent from the next station to stop the train. Some of the travelers came up and joined in the discussion. Among them, Mr. Stamp W. Proctor, with his rough, loud voice. Passepartout heard the man say, "No, you can't possibly get past. The bridge at Medicine Bow is in need of repair, and will certainly not support the way of the train." The bridge of which they were talking was one that hung across a deep river, about a mile further on. What the man said was clearly quite true. The bridge was unsafe. Passepartout, not daring to go and inform his master, stayed and listened. "Well," said Proctor, "we are not going to stand here forever in the snow." "Sir," answered the guard, "we have sent a telegram to Omaha asking them to send a train to meet us at Medicine Bow, but it can hardly get here in less than 6 hours." "6 hours?" cried Passepartout. "Yes," said the guard. "In any case it will take us the time to walk as far as the station." "Walk!" cried all the travelers. "How far away is the station, then?" asked someone. "It's only a mile away, but it's on the other side of the river. We shall have to walk to reach a safe crossing." "It will be a distance of 15 miles in all." "A 15-mile walk in the snow?" cried Stamp Proctor. Then he started shouting, swearing, calling the railway company and its officials all the bad names he could think of. Passepartout, who was equally angry, felt like joining him. But here was something that it was no use fighting about. All his master's banknotes were useless in the face of this difficulty. The passengers were extremely disappointed and upset. Not only would they be late, but they would also have to walk 15 miles through the snow. The noise of their complaints would certainly have been noticed by Phileas Fogg if that gentleman had not been so interested in his game. Passepartout saw that he would have to tell his master what had happened. He was just walking towards the carriage when the engine driver, a true American by the name of Foster, raised his voice and said, where is Gentlemen, there is one way of getting across the bridge?" asked somebody. "Yes, across the bridge." "With our train?" asked Proctor. with our train. Passepartout stopped and listened to what was being said, but the bridge is unsafe. That doesn't matter, said the engine driver. I believe that by sending the train across at full speed, there will be a good chance of getting over. Well, what a crazy idea, thought Passepartout, but quite a number of the travelers very much liked the idea, particularly Stan Proctor. Quite responsible and quite natural, he cried. Why, he went on. There are engineers who are now designing trains that traveling at full speed can cross rivers without any bridge at all. In the end, all the travelers agreed to the idea. Passepartout was too surprised to speak. He was ready to attempt anything in order to get across the river, but this seemed to him to be rather too American. Besides, he thought there is a much simpler way, and these people have not even thought of it. Sir, he said to one of the travelers, the plan seems to me a little dangerous, Bill. There is nothing more to be said, answered the man. The engine driver says we can get across, and that is an end of the matter. That evening, the train reached the highest point of its journey. It, it now had only to go down until it reached the Atlantic. The travelers had come 1,382 miles from San Francisco in 3 days and 3 nights. In another 4 days and 4 nights, they should be at New York. The next day, the three companions were playing cards as usual. None of them complained about the length of the journey. Tex had begun by winning a few pounds and was now losing them again. Mr. Fogg held very good cards, and he was just going to play one of them when a voice was heard behind him saying, "Don't play that, play a diamond instead." Mr. Fogg, Uda, and Fax looked up to see Stamp Proctor standing there. "Oh, it's you, is it, Mr. Englishman?" cried he. "You are the one who wants to play a heart." "Yes, and I shall play it," answered Falsfog, as he did so well. "I went to play the diamond," and the man bent forward to take hold of it, adding, "You don't know how to play this game. Perhaps there is another game that I know better," said Falsfog, getting up from his seat. "Well, you can try," replied Proctor, with an ugly smile on his face. Wood looked very frightened. She took hold of Mr. Fogg's arm, but he gently pushed her away. Passepartout was ready to throw himself on the American, but Fix stood up, went to Proctor, and said, "The quarrel is between you and me." You were Proctor, and said, "The quarrel is between you and me." You were not only disrespectful towards me, but you even struck me. "Mr. Fox," said Mr. Fogg, "I beg your pardon, but this is my business alone. This man will answer to me for his behavior." "When and where you like," replied the American. Ude tried to hold Mr. Fogg back, but without success. The detective attempted to take the quarrel on himself. Passepartout stopped. Mr. Fogg got up and, followed by Fix, left the carriage. Passepartout went to carrying a pair of revolvers. They had not been outside long when the door opened and Mr. Proctor came out with a friend. But just as the two enemies were preparing themselves, the guard ran up, saying, "Nobody is to get out here, gentlemen." "Why not?" asked Proctor. Angrily, "We are 20 minutes late, and the train is not going to wait." "But I have no flight, this gentleman." "I'm sorry," said the guard, "but we are starting." "Sorry?" But we are starting saying don't play that. Play a diamond instead. Mr. Fogg, Wooden Defects looked up to see Stamp Proctor. Mr. Fix, said Mr. Fogg, I beg your pardon, but this is my business alone. This man will answer to me for his behavior. Why not? asked Proctor angrily. We are 20 minutes late, and the train is not going to wait. But I have to fly this gentleman. As he said this, the train started to move and the two men jumped on. I am really very sorry, gentlemen, said the guard. I would like to have helped you, but as you have had no time to fight at Blom Creek, is there any reason why you should not fight on the train? Perhaps that would not suit this gentleman, said Proctor with an unpleasant laugh. It will suit me perfectly, answered the false. We are certainly in America, thought Passepartout, and the two men, their friends, and the guard passed through the carriages until they reached the end of the train. In the last carriage there were only about 10 people. The official asked these passengers whether they would be good enough to give up the carriage for a few minutes to two gentlemen who wished to fight. Well, of course, they were only too happy to be of any service to the two gentlemen, and immediately went out and stood in the passage. The carriage was 50 feet long, and very suitable for the purpose. The two men could walk towards each other between the seats and shoot at each other without difficulty.